can honestly say that the man is a phenomenal athlete. His strength is unbounding, but there is always that chance that I can beat him.
If you opened a training school today, what would be the way that you trained your trainees?
First thing I would do is psychology. People do not teach psychology. Psychology of wrestling is, like I said before, it's when you can take the people in those chairs up in the balconies and stand them up on their feet in the middle of a match, set them back down, and then raise them back up again. Then you know psychology. When you're doing that, you go in there and you make those people believe what you're doing is real. And it's unmistakable what you're doing. And it's not just a punch or a kick. The hold has got to look good. Everything else has got to look good when you're doing it. You've got to be able to have that persona shown out there to those people.
Are there any wrestlers in Carolina Independent Wrestling that you see that has the psychology part down?
There's 2 or 3 around that do. Boomer Payne is one. Bob Keller's, he gets in there every once in a while, but he gets a little carried away, like when he was wearing the purple gimmick. And he really played this one up as best as I can remember. Bob Keller played real hard to the gimmick of Barney. You know how the children's program was with Barney?
Yes.
I love you, you love me. Well, he would get upset with the people if they started that. Well, that's what I call psychology. They knew that it upset him. He let it known to them by showing his reactions in the ring, what was upsetting him. And that's what I mean by psychology.
Well, I'm glad that you brought Bob Keller's name up, sir, because Bob Keller is giving you the Carolina Independent Wrestling Report's question of the week.
Uncle Bill White, I have to ask you, why in the world would you get somebody chocolate cake and not vanilla cake?
Well, there's a story behind that. And it's called payback. That's why.
Do you want to share the story?
Well, a very good friend of mine befriended a younger fellow in the business and helped him out. And he said he left his checkbook at home and he didn't have no money. And he would send it to him as soon as he got home. It was only a matter of $60, $70 something. You know, it's not that much. But it was the principle of the thing. While he was there, for the week that he was there with us, he traveled around with me and Al. I bought his dinner, Al bought his dinner, and he stayed with Al in Al's room. And he said, well, I'll split the room with you. When it was time for him to leave, he got up at 3 o'clock in the morning, grabbed his bag, and left, and walked out the door. 3 months later, we finally found him down in Florida and asked him if he was going to come back that year. He said yes. I told him I'd be there. Well, my son from Illinois, he come down to CAC that year. And we had a birthday party for my son. Well, let's put it this way. My son had the vanilla cake. I had a piece of chocolate cake, and so did this other party. And unbeknownst to him, I melted some X-Lax in his cake. And it was the night before the banquet. And Mr. Keller can tell you the story from there. But not a very pleasant one. And we just informed him that it was payback time. And you don't do that to the guys. So if you do something or say something and give your word, do whatever you can, especially to the older guys. Don't go back on it. Because like the old adage is, payback is hell. I'm sure his flight home on the plane was not very pleasant.
Carolina Independent Wrestling Report will be right back, right after this.
Previously on the Ninja Troll Digicast.
Two very different versions of the future collide this December in the 5-issue miniseries Star Trek Planet of the Apes.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
Just had a nerdgasm.
It's all about love. The Ninja Troll Digicast.
With discussions on comic books, sci-fi, and all things in geek culture. This is the Ninja Troll Digicast. Join us each week right here on Spreaker.com.
This is Samantha Starr, the perfect knockout, and you are listening to the CIW Report.
Being a dad can be tough.
No. What do you mean she's not coming?
When's the fairy princess coming?
Any minute now.
But when you're willing to do anything,
It is I, Cruz Zinkelpel. Okay, time for cake.
it's always worth it.
I know it's really you, Drew. I'm just pretending for the other kids.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Now to more of our interview from this week's featured guest on the CIW Report. Okay, so you have had a lot of feuds in your career, correct?
I've had a few here and there.
So what would you consider to be the best feud in your career?
Bob Kelly in Mobile, Alabama. I'll iterate on this. Bob Kelly and I, it really started by an accident. And I tell you, it was fun. We went in there, and I got him disqualified. I was the bad guy. He's the good guy. I went in there, and I got him disqualified. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Well, this started an argument with the people that I was cheating, that I was doing everything to get him disqualified because I wanted to take his belt. Well, that is not the truth. Bob Kelly and I wrestled about 5 more times, and every time he wound up getting disqualified. The last 2 times, the commissioner was there. Well, the commissioner disqualified him on the spot, suspended him on the spot indefinitely, and it went on from there. The thing was, we went to a meeting with the commission, him and I both. And I told them I did not understand why he gets so upset with me that he has to keep getting himself disqualified. Why doesn't he give me a chance at the belt? I can't get the chance at the belt until I beat him. And I'd like to see him at least come back and wrestle so that I could get that opportunity. And the commission said, okay, if he can get 10,000 people to sign a petition, he can wrestle. But until that 10,000th person has signed that petition, he can't wrestle. Well, he put it out in all the newspapers, all over Mississippi, all over Alabama, all over Pensacola, all that area. And every place we went, every arena we went to, he was there with a clipboard and the sheets to get signed. And to prove that he had gotten the signatures, everybody had to give him $1. So when he went back to the commission with the full amount commission said, okay, you can wrestle again. And we wrestled. Only this time I got disqualified. And that ended our feud right there.
Just like that, because you got disqualified, it was over.
Yeah, because I put him in the hospital.
Okay, so going back in your career, who brought out the best in Bill White?
The best, I would say, came from people like Wahoo McDaniels, Ricky Steamboat, Mike Graham, Jock Goulet. Golly, there's so many more. Bill Dromo in Georgia, Ray Stevens in California. These guys are all super workers, super guys, and they all enjoyed working with Jack Briscoe, Jerry Briscoe, even Ric Flair. When he first started, I used to have some good matches with him, and I enjoyed wrestling. It didn't matter whether it was a top guy or an underneath guy. Jerry Stubb, Charlie Fulton, these were guys that were where I was on the mid-card level, and we would go out there and we would tear a house down. And Ronnie Garvin and I had many matches that the people just drooled. They drooled over it because of the fact that we'd go in there and we would wrestle. And we would go out there and when it come to a slugfest, we did it too. And the same thing with Wahoo. Wahoo didn't give no quarter. He didn't ask no quarter.
Well, I do have to ask you a question because anybody that knows me personally knows that I am a huge fan of Mr. Wrestling 2. Talk to me a little bit about him.
Mr. Wrestling 2, first time I met him was in Tennessee when I first started. And Mr. Wrestling 2, as you know, is Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker was the Indian River Man. You couldn't hold him in a hole. He was that good. He was really a proficient wrestler. Could be a brawler if he had to be. Well, then he left Tennessee, and the next time I saw him was in the Carolinas. And at this time, he had modified himself to be Mr. Wrestling number 2. Mr. Wrestling number 1 was Tim Woods. Johnny had perfected a knee lift that was the most devastating lift I've ever seen anybody use. He could hit you with that thing, and the people just knew that the match was over.
With you talking about the knee lift, you see it all the time. It is becoming more and more used while people are in the ring. Do you think that the older style finishes have a place now in professional wrestling?
The older style finishes are being brought back in today as something they're saying nobody's ever seen this kind of move before. There is not a hold, there is not a move in wrestling that has not been done prior to these guys today. Every hold, I should say, has been used one way or another. And it's not new when it comes back around. It's just new to them, new as far as people not seeing it in this realm or this generation.
And the only reason I ask that is Mick Foley comes to mind because when he was doing the Mankind gimmick, he looked back into wrestling of the 50s and he got the mandible claw. So that was the reason that I was asking you about that. I just think that, sometimes like the DDT is overused.
Oh, yeah.
So when you see that, what do you think?
The things that I think about when I'm watching these guys wrestle is either the guy that's using it is not good at it, or the other